Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti, and seated at the table,
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Bonnie Syatt.
Kevin Cornell.
Jay McGuire.
Jack Demerjen, zoning administrator.
okay. Thanks for coming out on such a poor weather night. I thought about, we might cancel the meeting at one point, but it seems like it's held up okay. First item on our agenda tonight is a review of the minutes from the February 3, 2026 meeting. Does everyone have those?
On the first page, at the bottom, under report of the zoning enforcement officer, the last sentence, ZEO Demerjen and Attorney Weaver will continue work on these new changes. I think that was in reference to determine the impact on the existing zoning regulations.
Yep. Right, Jack?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it for me.
They look fine to me, Jack. I just have one,
Sorry, Jenny's out tonight, she's under the weather. And we'll get these.
under, just a couple of typos. I mean, really not even worth mentioning, but under new business, there was no new business at this time. And at the top of the next page, there will be a proposed text amendment by Attorney Nuff regarding PRD regulations, most likely take out the word B, most likely on the March agenda.
Got it.
And that's all I had. Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, then.
Move that we approve the February 3rd, 2026 minutes as amended.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Very good. All right. Next item on our agenda is old business. Do we have anything that we want to discuss under that topic?
Just wanted to ask Jack if he was going to cover under his CEO report, progress and/or timetable on reviewing the impact of the legislation regarding residential zone.
Ozzie, Owen, and I had a chance to sit down last week, and Owen is gonna be on our schedule for our next meeting on the 17th. I think what we're leaning towards is doing this in stages. There's language with this new bill that we can act on now with a text amendment, kind of a wide range of topics, but things that have come into play January 1st. Then we're gonna get into what comes into effect on July 1st. And then we have a couple things that are a few years down the line, like the affordable housing plans. We'll see what Owen suggests that we do there, but he's gonna come in with some amended language and paperwork for us next meeting that will kind of tell us our timetables and action items of stuff that we have to address in our current regulations and stuff that we may need no action on.
I think what's contemplated is, a revision to the regulations that reflects the operation of House Bill 8002.
Yeah.
So that'll be the first step. And he's going to hopefully make some progress on it over the
plan.
next week or two and report back to the commission.
So step one is conform to the obligations that exist as of
January 1.
Jan 1. Although I guess this is more appropriate under new business, but so it would seem to me that at some point we should be considering looking at all of the on a holistic level, the entire obligation package of what type of housing needs to be provided, when and where, and how do we deal with that? Right.
Yeah.
You know,
That's-
rather than, you know, doing it on a, I mean, there are obviously stuff that has to happen on a certain timeline, but we should also, I think, maybe be looking at a more global approach.
Jack, the stuff that comes in on July 1st is already voted in and approved, it's just a question of when it's implemented?
When it comes into effect. And Kevin, you're exactly right. We had some discussion during our sit-down of what we're going to do, not only timeline, but overall. I mean, one new provision in this bill is making us touch every single chapter in our regulations. So this is definitely gonna be a wide range of changes that we have to make just because now our current regulations don't meet what the state says we have to do. So it's definitely gonna be a wide range of changes that Owen is gonna have to bring to us. So,
And there are no opportunities or decision points that we're at right now.
I don't think so. Right now, it's pretty black and white.
I mean,
It's, you have to make sure your language says this and that. And then there's a couple items that are optional for the board that Owen is gonna dive into. Some of them may be in our best interest, some of them are not. But for the purpose of discussion, even what, you know, we think we're absolutely not gonna, you know, take advantage of or opt into, he wants to lay out all the options that we have, just to make it as clear as possible. So he's gonna give us a pretty comprehensive breakdown at our next meeting.
So, you know, when you have something, as you say, that's gonna touch many different portions of the whole document, in our function as a legislative group, you know, is there some sort of provision where you put together like a working group to try and overhaul the whole thing? Or are we really kind of, I mean, to do Fred Wolf Park, it's been 2 years and how many hundreds of meetings? You know, that's like a,
I actually did ask that question, you know, I said, Ozzy, when was the last time we had a full comprehensive, you know, review by maybe a planning consultant of our regs?
No,
We-
we've done it piecemeal for the,
yeah,
Right.
the not the transfer, but.
TOD.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
TRD, and,
It's usually something that's undertaken by a
We
consultant.
did what piece?
the, what do you call it,
I mean, we.
The
the
TOD.
train station.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, how did that,
Glenn-
that was a new section to the regulations, right?
It was. Oh, you know what? We actually didn't hire a consultant for that one. We did that. We screwed that up all by ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
And-
thank God we threw it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then for the only time
Have to
we've gotten
worry
the
about it anymore.
consultants, yeah, right, was Chalder for the first.
Glenn, yeah, it was the
last one,
POCD.
And this other gentleman for the,
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
very similar to Kevin's point is, you know, people like Glenn and BFJ who did our
Mhm.
BOCD.
Yep.
They're the ones who do this comprehensive overhaul of regulations, bring stuff to our attention that, you know, may be dated or doesn't work anymore, is not in compliance with state code. I agree with it. You know,
So
I write
it
things
makes-
down all the time that maybe could be updated or modernized.
I think it makes some sense that, since it's gonna be such a large impact on our regulations, maybe now's a good time to do that. I
Just
don't know
to
what
look
kind of,
into-
what kind of cost we're looking at, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the budget.
It's gonna be a sizable, it's not, you know, a few $1,000s to hire somebody to do it. It's more like a POCD undertaking than not. But again, I've never done it either, so we would definitely have to
Right.
get some info on that.
Well, I can tell you it's been at least 25 years, right?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a good thing to bring up to Owen next time, say, you know, is it in our best interest as a board with the range of changes that we're gonna have to make to come into compliance with this new bill? Is it worth it just to do a, you know, a complete overhaul? It's worth a discussion.
Yeah, and to actually execute whatever those obligations wind up being, you need a, you know, that's a much, you don't want to be doing that on an ad hoc basis. You know, you want it to all fit in together. and to understand the cumulative impacts of, okay, we drew, say like that middle housing thing has to be X percent of the entire acreage in the town. Well, when we draw those lines, you're gonna be in 3 different zones. C1, C2, R, and it's all gotta work together.
Yeah, I think the first step is to,
Oh, yeah,
the law was passed,
Yeah.
and now, part of our regulations are inconsistent.
Yes, I
So-
agree.
We might as well get that cleaned up.
Absolutely.
And that can't be too onerous. Yeah, that shouldn't be too onerous a task. You should be able to get that done, and,
I think it's not just getting it done, it's a question of how it's gonna impact the other hundreds of sections that we
Right.
have.
well, yeah, right,
It's kind of a domino effect, and that's
Yeah.
part of where our discussion went.
yeah. So we gotta start somewhere, and we'll start pecking away at it. Huh?
Talk to Jim.
We'll start pecking away at it, I think, the meeting we had with the town attorney, when was that, in January or December? He gave us a summary, an overview of the act, but wasn't, he, it was new to him at that time, and so, I think he's really getting his arms around it now, and we can, get into some specific changes that need to be made, so, we'll do that at the next meeting,
Yep,
right? Okay.
he is set for the 17th.
All right, any other, where were we, old business? Okay, no, how about new business, item number 3 on our agenda? All set? Okay, and the last item before our public hearing is a report from the zoning enforcement officer?
I think we went over most of what I had.
Just to go back for 1 second on new business, is Big Y coming into that, things have
To
been
the
set?
best of my knowledge, yeah, I think they're putting together their application and, plan materials, and I think they said they're hoping to be in front of the board before the summer, but they should be, to the best of my knowledge.
All right, well, that gets us to our public hearing this evening. It's a petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Strawberry Hill Realty LLC. And the object is to amend Article 12 of the Orange zoning regulations regarding planned residential development. Let's start by having Kevin read the legal notice into the record.
Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2025, at 7 PM at the Orange Town Hall,
2026, Jenny.
617
Yeah.
Orange Center Road,
What
the
happened?
Orange Town Plan
5 instead of
and
6.
Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Strawberry Hill Realty LLC, to amend Article 12 of the Orange zoning regulations regarding planned residential development. A copy of this notice has been filed with the town clerk. Additional information is on file with the Orange zoning department dated Orange, Connecticut, the 17th of February, 2026.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Sorry if this is in the way. Oh, you don't need it right away?
Okay.
All right, the applicant is at the podium.
No, thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. Good evening, Sarah Sharp. I'm a land use attorney with offices at 42 Cherry Street in Milford. Here on behalf of the applicant, Strawberry Hill Realty. I just want to also say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight on a night that is not so nice, obviously. With me tonight on behalf of the applicant, I have Ahmed Ibrahim and our architect, Paul Santos with Newman Architects. Some of you may recall, just looking at this application, that there was a PRD regulation amendment submitted in 2023 that was ultimately denied. And it's no secret that that application was related to, a motivation to develop the property at 271 Peck Lane. Our applicant for this application, they are the current owner of Spruce Manor, which is just across the street from 271 Peck Lane, and they purchased 271 Peck Lane in 2025. So their ultimate goal is to develop that property. But this is an entirely new applicant. They have no relationship to the previous applicant or that project or proposal. It differs significantly, not just in the technical revisions to the PRD regulations, but just also in who this applicant is and the type of project that they want to pursue, being here in Orange and what their goals are for the project. And I do want to introduce Ahmed to come up and just talk about his experience in Orange and sort of the vision for the site really quickly.
Okay.
Excuse me, could you give me your name again for the
Yes,
record?
Sarah Sharp, Sarasharp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time tonight. I will be very brief. My name is Ahmed Ibrahim. I am one of the members in Strawberry Hill Realty LLC. We have been in the
Name for me, please?
first name Ahmed, Ahmed. Last name Ibrahim with Ebrahim. I always joke the only Ibrahim with E in America.
Thank you.
We have been in the town of Orange since 2022 when we acquired the Spruce Manor. As you know, everyone knows the Spruce Manor in Orange, I guess. We have wonderful, I cannot tell you how wonderful experience we have in the town so far. We own Spruce Manor. I hate the word landlord. I tell all our tenants when we sign a lease, we are not landlord. I hate the word landlord. We look at all the tenants we work with as family and friends. And if you talk to most of our tenants, Spruce Manor, everywhere, I think they will confirm that. Anywhere we go, any town we develop, or either new development like the proposal here, or acquisition, we work with the town. We work with the town within the town development plan, and we work with the neighbors. We already reached out to all the neighbors we can reach out to assure them that whatever access you have is respected, actually will be improved and developed, will be much better. So that's what we do everywhere. That's our experience in Orange so far, and that's what we like to do. We continue to work with the town as part of the economic development plan of the town, work with the neighbors, and we really appreciate your time looking at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. So this application, Ahmed has been really clear from the beginning that the design and the aesthetics of the project, he wants this to be a really great project for the town and really enhance the area. So unlike what I see in a lot of these regulation amendments where it's really about maximizing density and we might not have an architect on board until much later on, we have Paul Santos and Newman Architects right out of the gate. And so their sort of direction was to look really carefully at the potential for this site and what can be done. Obviously, it's sort of an unusual configuration and wanting to come up with something that would fit that area. So understanding that this is a regulation amendment, and I am going to walk you through the details of the amendment, we did want to highlight the design that we have come up with because it really has been the driving force behind this entire proposal. I think it helps to see, what we can accomplish with some modest tweaks to be able to bring this design to fruition. So Paul, if you could come up.
He might be using the
Yeah.
movies.
Is this yours?
Which way should I move?
Honestly, it may be easier. You may want to take one up.
So
Or
now,
you could slide this way if you need.
this is when the technology implodes, and
So,
oh, I saw something. There we go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name's Paul Santos. I'm a principal with Newman Architects. We're located at 265 Church Street in New Haven. This has really been a fun project to work on. As you can tell, Ahmed is probably the greatest gentleman and client that we've had the opportunity to work with. He's certainly a unique developer in that you can see his passion for how he wants the property to look like, but his passion for his residents. This site is fairly unique in that it's a bridge between a commercial corridor and a residential neighborhood. So we understand that this isn't a full site plan application, so I promise Sarah that I'm going to be fairly short. But as you can see, just from the very first slide, the vision for the project is for the site to appear as a home or as an estate fronting Peck Lane. The view that you're seeing here is a direct view from Peck Lane looking into the site, and you can see how minimized the building appears on the site. So as I mentioned, this site is a bridge between a commercial corridor and and a residential zone. You can see the location of the site. The site is immediately located adjacent to Raymore and Flanagan. It's a prime location. It's a perfect site for a multifamily project. Has access to fresh fruits and vegetables at Trader Joe's, commercial corridor, access to rapid transit, easy access to 95. This is a perfect location. The site, if not all of you have been there recently, it's a partially developed, somewhat distressed site with small cottages on them that are slated for demolition if they haven't been demolished yet. In all honesty, I haven't been to the site in a month or two, so I'm not sure if the properties are still there. But you can generally see that the property was previously developed. I think a couple of things to just note is you can start to, especially in the image on the left here, you can start to generally see the rolling topography of the site. The site does have several areas of rock outcroppings. So as you'll see in the first slide, you'll start to see how the project is starting to minimize disruption to the site and utilizing the topography of the site to minimize its scale but maximize density. So again, this is the image from Peck Lane. The project is intended to be rooted in the patterns of New England architecture. It's consistent with the patterns found throughout the town of Orange. You can see the left side of the building. We've utilized and leveraged the topography of the site to create what is effectively a 4-story elevation on one side overlooking Raymore Flanagan, but only 3 stories on the right-hand side of this image, overlooking what you'll see is a fully screened parking lot. This allows us to minimize the height of the building, so the building now is only 40 feet above the average grade measured to the average slope of the roof. So this illustrates a little bit of an entry sequence, and you can see the rolling topography of the entry drive. The entry drive to the left accesses a porte cochere, which also creates full full perimeter access for emergency vehicles. But to the right now rolls up into a parking area, and we'll share with you a site plan. We wanted to mesmerize you with great images first. So this is just a little bit more of the entry sequence. You can see the porte cochere on the right-hand side, but you can see the language of the architecture is really a very New England pattern with a few terraces, sloped roofs, ornamented trusses at the gables, horizontal sidings. So this is really where you start to understand how we leverage the topography of the site to, one, not only maximize the density of the site, but also create some really grand spaces on the interior, which allows us to create a two-story amenity space for residents, which will be peppered with the usual amenities that you might see in a project of this type. A gathering space for residents, gym, places that foster wellness and social interaction. The site here is fairly simple. You can see the entry from Peck Lane on the left-hand side. We've created two-way driveways. One that circumnavigates the entire building for emergency vehicles. You have the option of, as you enter the site, you can hang a right and go up to the parking area, where you can then access the interior of the space. So the building is really accessed from two sides. The entry drive here for drop-offs and deliveries, and then primary resident entry from the parking lot. If you'll notice, the secondary line, a dashed line here, represents a 25-foot buffer. So we are fully buffering the parking lot, really screening it, and protecting abutters. This is a conceptual plan. It's not a final site plan application. So this is just where we are in the process. And that's it. I hope I kept it under 7 minutes, as I promised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to take you through the highlights of the text amendment. I believe everyone has a copy. So looking first at 383-97, the minimum 10% affordable housing, we're proposing to reduce from the original requirement of 30%. And just for your reference, this differs from the previous application that only proposed 5%. The 10% minimum, it would maintain the status quo for the town of, 10% affordable for purposes of 830G. And there are a couple other sections within the PRD that reference a PRD development must be a set-aside development under 830G. So we have revised those sections to conform to this 10% minimum. So now they read that it may be a set-aside development. And I do want to note that we received from Jack, this was probably in 2023, a list of what had been compiled as PRD approved locations around town. And there was some question as to whether that list is really accurate, but I'm not sure it is because there's at least 2 on the list that didn't meet the 30% affordable units. So I'm not sure if that wasn't complied with in previous applications as well. But I think that the 10% affordable, does continue to maintain the status quo for the town, and it is more than that previous application that was denied. The next thing I want to highlight is at 383-99. This is on the second page. 383-100, Part C, also on the second page. We have removed the 300-foot separation distance between parcels containing PRD units. I do want to emphasize that that change doesn't open up the town to a significant number of parcels that wouldn't qualify for PRD units now. It allows our parcel to be developed, 271 Peck Lane, because it's our understanding that Spruce Manor was developed as a PRD, so we would need to remove that separation distance in order to develop the parcel. There's also 251 Old Lambert Road that potentially would qualify for a PRD development with the removal of that separation distance, but it doesn't open the door to other parcels along Old Post Road because there aren't any, no parcels that aren't already qualified, with the other restrictions from the PRD, within the certain stretch of Post Road. It doesn't add, X number more parcels that could be developed. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The next section, 383-100D, this is a request to allow up to 75 units, provided that 100% of the units are efficiency or one bedroom. The current regulation only allows a maximum of 50 units. However, it allows 50 units with 66% of those units one bedroom or efficiency, and the remainder as 2 or 3 bedrooms. So if there was a developer who came in looking to do the maximum or has done the maximum on previous sites, it would allow up to 84 bedrooms as opposed to our proposal, which still limits you to 75 bedrooms because it has to be restricted to 1 bedroom and efficiency units. And there, from the list that we received from Jack, there were several parcels that had been developed with, 50 units. It didn't have the bedroom count, but I would suspect that there were some 2 and 3 bedroom units within those developments. So overall, just consistent with the density that's already allowed when you look at it from the bedroom count. Turning the next page to 383-101. A1A on building height, we are maintaining the 40-foot building height restriction. We have removed the restriction to 3 stories. It was my understanding that that's consistent with other regulations currently, that we're moving away from using stories and just sticking with the maximum number of feet. And so we've maintained the 40-foot maximum that is in the existing regulation. And then looking at the subsection C in this same section, we're requesting FAR up to 40%, where the current regulation allows 30%. And then again, just to highlight the previous proposal that was rejected, that asked for 50% FAR. So it asked for more than what we are asking for now. And then turning the next page, this is in the building setbacks buffer areas. And this section is also very significant in how it's distinguished from the previous application. So subpart A refers to a 200-foot separation distance between residential dwelling units and a non-residential building or non-residential parking lot. We are asking to reduce that separation distance from 200 feet down to 100 feet. The previous application, I believe, had asked for 75 feet. Yes, the previous application had asked for 75 feet, so much closer to the, that would allow you to get much closer to the commercial building. We didn't have the significant buffer area that we were able to accomplish with the updated approach and design. Subpart. This is, it's on the 3rd page, and it's subpart A at the very top. It's under the building setbacks buffer areas.
101. 101B.
B1A. On the very top of, sorry.
It's on the top of the 4th page.
Sorry, top of
Yeah.
page 4. Should have had page numbers, apologies. And then the next section, subpart B, we are maintaining the 100-foot residential, 100-foot buffer from the shopping complex. No request to reduce that, and the previous application that was rejected did ask to reduce that to 50 feet, so more than half, so half. And then the final one in subpart 2 on the landscape buffers. It's a 25-foot landscape buffer at each property line. The previous application, we asked to reduce that to a 20-foot buffer. We're maintaining the 25 feet, but we have asked for, to clarify this, that it's buffers to residential property, excepting a residential property that is accessible via a PRD access drive. We do have a unique condition on this property where we have 2 residential parcels that would access their driveways through the property, and we've accommodated that. We're maintaining the easements, and we've also discussed that with the neighbors and, you know, gotten their, to my understanding, their agreement that it works for them. But that, we can't obviously provide a 25-foot landscape buffer and block someone off from their driveway. So that's the reason for that section there. The next page, at the very top, it's subpart H, referring to building height. So this PRD standard previously included a specific building height calculation. I don't know how that provision interacted with, you know, when other provisions within the regs were passed, but there is an existing definition for how to calculate building height in your regulations under the definitions at 383-14. And so we're just proposing that we stay consistent with that definition and apply that to the PRD here. And I do have copies of that definition so that you can have it in front of you, but it's consistent with how you would define building height in any of your other zones for any other projects.
Yeah. Anybody want to see one of these now? Sure, Kevin does.
And then moving to the subpart I, right down the line, we're requesting to extend the maximum length of a residential building from the existing 160-foot limitation to 350 feet. However, to compensate for that and to sort of maintain the intent of that regulation, which is to avoid, you know, a sort of large block or unattractive facade, we have put in a requirement for facade articulation, and obviously you can see that that's embodied in our design. Moving right to the parking requirements, 383-103. This revision is just to bring the PRD parking requirements in conformity to the updates to the state statute 8-2D9, which prohibits requiring more than one space per one bedroom or efficiency unit and allows 2 spaces per 2 or 3 bedroom units, absent an opt-out by the municipality, which I don't think Orange has done. So this is conforming to state statute requirements. And then the next subpart B in that same section is eliminating the requirement for additional parking spaces associated with recreational buildings, recreational building floor area. This is recreational space that is pretty modest and is going to be used just by the residents. So the parking requirement of 1 additional space per 100 square feet didn't seem like it was tethered to any true parking need. Turning to the next page at 383-104, this revision on the landscaping buffer is really for clarity. It was a little bit inconsistent with the buffer strip to substantially screen the perimeters of the building. We weren't entirely sure what that was intended to do, if it was to screen other buildings from each other, but I'm happy to hear any feedback on that. But we revised it to just be consistent with a 25-foot buffer between the development, parking areas, and any residential areas neighboring. And then turning to the next page, 383-105, these are the affordable housing sort of drafting changes that I mentioned at the beginning, that the previous version of the PRD or the existing PRD requires that a PRD be a set-aside development, which would be 30% affordable. We've changed that to may to account for the 10% affordable proposal. And then throughout this regulation, the provisions referred to the Public Act that actually was the original, I guess, enabling act for 830G. There's been updates to 830G since that time, obviously. I guess this is in 2000, so just for consistency, we would recommend changing that to 830G so that the regulations continue to follow any updates to that state statute rather than referencing a public act from 2000. And then subparts C and E, these changes were in consultation with my colleague, who's very much an affordable housing expert, that these definitions were sort of inconsistent with what is in the state statute, 830G. So subpart C, the reference to using the qualifying criteria used by HUD to determine area median income shall be used. We weren't too sure what that really means because HUD sets the area median income, so tried to clarify that and make it consistent with the statute. And then subpart E, we're removing this provision which read that the unit will be considered affordable to households meeting the income criteria if the household will not have to spend more than 30% of their monthly income for housing. The qualifying standards for affordable housing are within the statutory framework. The problem with this specific regulation is that it could potentially disqualify individuals that meet the minimum income criteria, but that they've technically been paying more than 30% of their income towards rent, and that's their choice. They have a housing voucher, what have you. It could potentially exclude individuals that you don't intend to exclude. So we're not trying to get away with anything or make people who wouldn't otherwise qualify for affordable housing qualify for these affordable units, but it's just more bringing it in line with what the state statutory requirements are and not disqualifying individuals that you wouldn't have intended to. And then turning, I believe this is the second to last page at 383-114. This is to clarify the timing of when the final residential plan would need to be provided. It said issuance of a building permit and a certificate of zoning compliance. We've revised it to certificate of zoning compliance related to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Some of the requirements for the affordability plan, and I'm happy to go into more detail, but it's information that it would be premature to provide it prior to like a certificate of occupancy, like the calculations for the affordable units and the rent calculations, for example. Those would be very out of date if you submitted them when you were applying for a building permit and the development isn't going to be done for a couple years. They need to be redone. So in other towns, we typically would provide this information at the final stage, at the CO stage. And again, happy to discuss that, but that was our recommendation from experiences in other towns and just the practicalities of administering the affordability plan. And then the final page, under subpart 2, so this subsection, which it starts at the previous page, 383-115, which prohibits PRD applications while the town has a 830G moratorium. Orange currently has a moratorium in place, and so we have amended this section to make it clear that one of the exceptions for PRD applications during a moratorium would be a PRD application in which 10% of the dwelling units are deed restricted as affordable. There were other exceptions to this moratorium prohibition in the previous regulation, and we think it would be appropriate to add that here. And I think I've thrown a lot at you, so I'm happy to answer any questions or go back to anything that you want to discuss more fully. Thank you.
The last item you reviewed, the moratorium, the change is necessary because of House Bill 8002, or it's unrelated to that?
It's unrelated to that. It's necessary because this section, if you go to the previous page at the end, so Article 12,
Yeah.
shall be suspended and no PRD applications will be accepted during any period in which there is a moratorium in effect. It is my understanding that there is a moratorium currently in effect in Orange.
That's my understanding.
Yes. So this section allowed for exceptions to that prohibition, and we've sort of added an exception for an application where 10% of the dwelling units are
Yeah.
affordable.
But the law didn't negate a
No,
moratorium.
no.
Attorney Sharp.
Yes.
Elsewhere in your proposed text amendment, you change Public Act 00-206 to 830G, and you didn't do it under
Yeah.
Section 115.
I did notice that just before I was coming here. That was an oversight on my part. It can be changed. I don't think it's a substantive revision that would be an issue to make that change during the course of the public hearing.
What's, what section are you talking about? in particular?
115.
The very last
Yeah,
one.
The reference is 00206.
Yep.
All right.
And just a piece of housekeeping for you is that under 383-101BA, the site plan you showed us wouldn't meet the 100-foot setback to a non-residential parking lot. It's 100 feet from the building, but the access drive to their parking lot is behind Raymore. Flanagan is like 30
Right.
feet away.
It's the residential dwelling units may not be within 100 feet, so it doesn't apply to a driveway.
You're making a distinction between the driveway of Raymore and Flanagan's parking lot and the parking area?
No, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood your question. I thought you were
Okay.
saying that,
If you pull up your site plan.
no, you're good. We can just leave it up.
Yep.
You don't want to go through all this and then have it not work.
No, I appreciate that. Just go one slide back. One slide back. No, I think we're good. There we go.
Okay, so if you read, as amended, you changed from 200 to 100 feet of a non-residential building,
Right?
okay? And you're 100 feet from the non-residential building. But then it goes, or non-residential parking lot. And
Right.
That's the parking lot to the building.
That's
the
a parking lot.
to Raymore and Flanagan
Yeah.
is
Oh,
behind their building.
okay.
The parking lot, where the 9 is. Where the 8 is.
No,
Right.
I understand. The paved area, you're saying that the distance from the building to this pavement is not 100 feet? Yes,
Correct.
understood.
And then there are, some other things in here where I don't know, I mean, you didn't touch them because they don't affect your plans, but I don't know if they're still currently legal. I don't know if there are minimum floor area standards for apartments anymore.
That's correct. You're correct, that was also prohibited by the updates to 8-2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that, I mean, if we're going in here,
Give me that again,
we have to
Kevin.
make it work for an area. When you just look at the area circumscribed by the PRD developments, it runs from Bull Hill Lane down to Peck, south of, with, then it has some other, markers to
It doesn't run all the way from Bull Hill Lane down to Peck. It runs from, it's Old Lambert.
Old Lambert Road, south of the Boston Post Road, Peck Lane, south of the Boston Post Road.
Right, but
That's in the residential zone.
Commercial, yep.
Now read the commercial zone.
yeah,
The Boston Post Road restricted to the south side from South Lambert Road to Bull Hill Lane.
Right.
And Silverbrook Road.
Okay, but you're at 383, 101B1A.
There's a lot of words, I get lost. Oh, it's right on the front. Okay. Okay, so in the commercial district,
right.
fronting the post road, this zone also applies from the Boston Post Road.
Between South Lambert Road and Bull
Bull
Hill
Hill
Lane on the south side of Boston Post Road. That's correct.
Right. And so it's a good chunk, and there are multiple multifamily developments within that area that have been developed, whether under this or under something else. Silverbrook Estates, whatever's off of Red Cedar Road. So there, as you said, there's a lot coming at us that we have to look at the larger picture also. In your view, if the PRD holds if the town holds serve with respect to meeting 10%, that should be good enough. Because that's the current obligation after this recent, or are we gonna find out when SCROG determines what our minimum quota of affordable units that they're gonna assign us, if I remember it correctly?
You are correct. We're gonna be told what our needs are.
Was there a time frame for that?
I wouldn't want to answer that incorrectly. I think that there is. But SCROG has to wait to hear from,
The other unelected people.
yeah.
Other
They're
people's
waiting
money.
on their own answer, then we're gonna wait to hear from them.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna form their housing plan, and we decide whether we wanna go with that one or formulate our own.
Right.
But I don't think their plan is due until next year. Again, I don't wanna say anything incorrect,
Yeah,
so.
I'm sorry, we happen to be working on this at the same time
Yeah.
because it was just,
She knows.
I'm trying to think of an appropriate word from, the obligation presented itself. All right.
So-
Spruce Manor.
I mean, our intention was obviously to not put the town sort of behind the eight ball from the 10% and offer, you know, a high quality of design that we can achieve. You know, it's difficult to achieve that if you start increasing the number of affordable units, and then understanding that the previous application, which asked for 5%, had been rejected. That's sort of how we got here.
All right. And if your idea, and perhaps, this is more of a site plan question, so it may not be appropriate, so don't have to answer, but this looks like would probably be a rental project rather than a condominium project.
Yes, these would be for rent.
And, okay, but that's, if they're affordable, it doesn't particularly matter to us, except that you know who's going to be maintaining it. And the idea of eliminating 383-101, eliminating the 3-story requirement, but keeping 40 feet was to take advantage of the topography to could create a grade level for the common spaces or more apartments?
I don't have the floor plans, obviously, but I think it was twofold. I think it was for the entry procession, and it aesthetically looks really nice. It was also to ensure that we weren't, I guess, building up the site and ending up with a building that's taller than it otherwise would be if we work with the natural topography. I know that there is a common space on the main floor. I think it's that, yeah, the pink or red highlighted area. And then there are units on the first floor as well. Is that right? Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, by leveraging the topography, it does allow us to create additional amenity space, but it also does allow us very inexpensively to create additional units facing Raymore and Flanagan. I think you can see the units there in yellow. That would be reflected on the ground floor, but it's only on one side of the building. It's not, obviously not on both.
Right. And so in general, I'm sorry, as long as you're up there.
Sure.
And again, if it's a site plan question and you're not there yet, that's fine.
Okay.
But basically, within that 40 feet, if you're going to be using, VRF-type units or whatever, you're going to have the mechanical equipment on the,
Great question. Actually, we thought about that as well. So what you can see here in the section, what we are trying to do is, we're trying to maintain the character of a New England architecture, but we're utilizing a combination of mansards and gables, and we're using those mansards to actually conceal all of the mechanical equipment. You can see this area here, maybe for the public who may not, this area here would effectively become a mechanical well to conceal any mechanical unit, so you wouldn't see it from grade.
okay? And with respect to the FAR ask, it's less than the allowed in the commercial district, but as you get the half floor on the first floor, you overran the 30%?
Oh, geez, good question.
I'm just wondering how close you
Yeah,
are to 40.
I think I want to say that we're about 30% or so. Karen, correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a site plan question.
Yeah,
Sorry. Don't-
no, but I
just
think
take
we
your
are,
time.
No, but-
we're around 30,
Right.
if I remember correctly.
Um,
30? So 31.
That could be reduced.
Sorry.
So the floor area ratio.
If we could step over to the microphone, please. Thank you.
The floor area ratio currently is about 39.5.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So what did we conclude on that setback?
It's less than 100 feet.
They'd have to just take out the parking lot
Right.
in language, and we'd have to decide whether we care.
Yeah, I mean, that driveway behind Raymore and Flanagan, it isn't a parking lot, so I don't know how it's been interpreted or if it's been interpreted previously.
I think the impervious, in the past, we've interpreted the impervious surface that connects the parking field to the road network is all part of the parking area. But it, you know, again, I'm not saying that that's if that was an ask, that would be the reason someone said no. You know, if that disappeared, I
Right.
mean, what's the important part? Is the important part the building separation so that the tenants have a reasonable buffer and living experience? That's probably what matters, you know, as opposed to whether or not a truck can drive by closer.
Right.
Because you're already living with your own parking area,
Right.
driveway. But, sorry, that's all I was gonna ask. Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions?
And as, you know, Ahmed said at the very beginning, that our goal is to really work with the town to try to bring a really nice project to town. So if this is something that, you know, is of interest and we could all, you know, we'd like to see here, then we want to hear from you on any other concerns you have, because we could address them, keep the hearing open, and you know, bring back with any, you know, tweaks. Especially if we're making the current proposal more restrictive, then there wouldn't be any issue with noticing. And if it's a different change or there's a question, I think we could notice it again and put it on record with the town clerk, obviously.
All right. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment on the application? Please come up to the podium. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jana Dubčáková.
Can you spell that for me, please?
The first name is Jana, and last name is Dubcakova.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, I am one of those two obstacles for this project, since I live all the way in the back. The driveway is my concern, and unfortunately, everything else, the parking lot and the height of the building. I have the right of the way, I guess, as they say it, for my house. And on that picture, I could not really see if it stays as it is or it was relocated. I know that, not sure if I'll be using the driveway with other 100 people who will be living in the buildings. My concern mainly is that, yeah, it is residential. As far as I can see from whatever is proposed, it's overpowering even the commercial building, which is the Raymond and Flanagan, and everything kind of around in the neighborhood. The buildings which are across, which you know, now the owner owns, those are 2 stories. So my kind of understanding from the beginning was that it's gonna be very close, going into residential in front of my house with 4-story buildings, the parking lot. I'm not sure how many people is it supposed to live in the whole project. We have to consider, as you said, 1 bedroom, 1 car, more bedrooms, what, 2, 3 cars?
Jana, is that how you pronounce your first name?
Jana.
Jana. I just want to make sure I understand. You're an adjacent property owner?
Could we put that photo up?
I don't know if you can see this from here.
No, put it up on the,
number 6
Yeah,
is her.
I live here. And I think the shared driveway is also with the neighbor on the front.
Yes.
So the current driveway is here, and it goes all the way here to my house.
So your access is to Peck Lane,
Yes,
straight to Peck Lane?
yes.
Okay.
So now, as I cannot see, now it shows that I guess I'll be sharing with all of the people. As I would love to tell you, I lived there 16 years. The property had been beaten up for a long
Can
time.
you go back to the microphone,
Yeah, we
please?
zoom.
Thank you.
I would like to see it being pretty and finally looking decent, because it was nightmare for everybody who kind of was coming to visit us. This, as a homeowner, is overwhelming for me. And I just would like to ask that if there is any regulation which do certain distance from the residential, say my property or my house, if it can be kept at full measures. I feel like I'm losing the property value. I love to see something new. I love to see, modern stuff and new people. This is just a little too much. I mean, from the front bay window, I have how many parking lots? It's 100, 90. And then from the side where is the porch, I have 4-story building, which I think does not really go with the flow of that area. And even, as I said, Raymond and Flanagan again is much lower than whatever is proposed. Not sure. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm your biggest obstacle as far as you know. That property is kind of divided very weirdly, and it has issues. So,
But your access is right over where they propose that the parking lot be?
yes.
Okay.
It's not the,
Um,
it's not that driveway immediately north, or she comes
No.
out of her house?
None of that is pretty much
The
current.
current layout, you come in
Is
off Peck,
from-
and you kind of have a winding
It's
road.
from here,
to
and
there,
it
yes.
goes like here, like this kind of part
Right.
comes to my house, and to her house, I guess it's.
Is it
here.
owned or an easement?
To the easement.
And
Okay.
someone looked at it, was, oh, I guess I should ask,
Yeah, we,
okay. Yeah.
okay. You want anything further?
No, as I said.
So you're concerned about the height of the building?
Number of
Yes,
units.
that's
I
number
mean,
one.
Our regulations provide, as they are now, I mean, the applicant isn't asking us to change anything, really.
Okay.
What's allowed now is 40 feet under the regulations, and they don't propose to do anything more than 40 feet. And then, what else, your concern was your view of the building from your house. And I don't know to what extent the landscaped area would alleviate that issue. We'll let the applicant address that. And what else?
Just, I'm not into the code, so I'm not sure if they were asking for any code change to minimize from 100 feet to 50 feet from the property or anything like that. I just don't want to live in a parking lot.
Yeah.
With I'm not even sure how many people are gonna be living in the structure like this.
All right.
That's, you know,
Okay.
I have to consider.
Why don't we get the applicant to address those questions, and can we do that?
Again, Sarah Sharp for the record. A couple of things. The building on the side facing the neighbor's property will appear as a three-story building. It's only 4 stories on the other side, on the side, on the
On the-
commercial side.
on the-
So on this side, it will appear as a 3-story building. And the 40-foot height, which is what's currently allowed in the PRD, is really, I think, appearing on this side. So on your side, it's not going to appear as a 4-story building, number one. Your house is about 100 feet from our building, and we are maintaining as much of the existing vegetation as possible to really ensure that we maintain that buffer. In terms of the,
Will that limit her view of the building? I mean, are the plantings that are contemplated, are they tall enough?
I don't know, yeah, let's see if.
I mean, it seems like a solvable problem.
Right.
It is, so, Paul Santos from Newman Architects. Admittedly, we haven't taken a deep dive into the
Yeah.
landscaping, but the intention is to, one, preserve the existing vegetation, maybe clear some of the underbrush. Actually, we were very thoughtful of how we were addressing your property. So as we further refine the landscaping plan, I think looking at ways to minimize the line of sight from 269 to our property, that's something that we can absolutely consider with a little bit of a few evergreen trees. But again, we are preserving the existing driveway. The existing driveway that has been discussed, which is this area here, which is an existing easement. It's almost kind of hard to tell. It's actually it's almost I don't know if it's quite an unpaved road or partially unpaved, but it's a very difficult driveway, especially with winters like this year.
But what you contemplate is relinquishing whatever, is her relinquishing whatever rights she has
Yeah,
over that, and giving her rights over.
Legally, I'll defer to Sarah
I
on
mean,
that one.
none of that's been worked out, or has it?
Ahmed, do you want to?
Ahmed Ibrahim from Strawberry Hill Realty. Ibrahim with E again. I want to start by thanking. I will not talk about regulations, rules. For us, it's more about working with the town, respecting the neighbors, and working with the neighbors. I want to thank Yana for being here. We already talked to her more than once before. We drove this access to her house the other day in the snow. She will admit it's very difficult access right now. We promised all the neighbors that we will, number one, we will maintain and respect the access all the way from Pick Lane to her house. The only difference, it will be paved, it will be landscaped, much better and nicer than now. We will definitely respect that. The other thing, as we talked last time,
But she'll have to access it in common with the other tenants in the building.
Well, that's the question. Is that easement a non-exclusive easement? Is it owned by, I want to know what the access is.
Right.
Yeah.
so I will let the experts talk about that. But for us, we will definitely respect her access from Pick Lane. The only difference will be nicer, paved, landscaped, for sure.
But it won't be the same route she drives now.
Again, I will let the experts design that,
Yeah.
but it will be respected from Pick Lane. It will be paved, landscaped, much more convenient than now. The other thing, the other concern that Yana raised with us is kind of buffer. She to kind of protect her house. She doesn't want to see even the parking lot in front. We are open to that with whatever evergreens, whatever the designers, Paul and the team, decide to do, we are open to whatever buffer in front of her property, so she will not see even the parking lot in front of her. So any other concerns, we are open for that. Again, before regulations and rules and for us, it's respecting the neighborhood, respecting the neighbors and working with them. We mentioned that to Yana before, and I am here officially repeating it on the record. We respect her access, we'll make it just better and landscape. We respect her privacy, whatever needed to respect her privacy, whether it's evergreens or whatever else in the landscaping plan, we definitely respect that. We're open for that. Thank you. And thanks for Yana for being here today.
Where is the buffer requirement for,
The landscape.
well, for the you know, no, for distance from the project to,
A
and it-
25-foot landscape buffer.
where do you see that?
It's on,
The
It's a
PRD
fourth
takes
page.
the
Fourth page.
the setbacks of the underlying zone.
yeah, and on the fourth page, it's the subpart 2, I think maybe one page back from where you are. Subpart 2, the 25-foot landscape buffer at each property line that we are maintaining. The only exception is for the driveway itself, but we're still, if you see the setback lines here, we're still maintaining the 25 feet except for, I think, right here where the driveway access is. And like we said, we're happy to work with the neighbors and provide evergreen screening.
The 25 feet is sufficient to put an appropriate buffer in there.
That's
Should
what's
be,
currently
should be.
required.
Yeah.
And I also want to address the number of units, because I think that there was maybe some confusion about the possibility of multi-bedroom units, and this would be specifically a maximum of 75 units, but all one-bedroom or efficiency, so no 2 or 3-bedroom units. And
Sarah,
on,
can you also talk about the access that Jana was talking about?
right,
Is that, it looks like it's being moved from where it currently is paved, or?
I don't believe it is currently paved.
Half of it is currently paved, half of it is not. The front half towards Peck Lane has very broken, rough pavement. After that, it's more or less a dirt pavement.
Is that her access to her house?
Correct.
Where
yes.
number 5 is.
No, number 5 is
Six.
another,
Yeah, that's 265.
No,
Number
but-
6 and back is
Yeah, I
where
see
Yana
that, I see 6 in
Yeah.
back, but how did she get from there to Peck Lane?
Through the
Access way
proposed
from
development.
Peck Lane all the way back there exists today. That is
Over
half
5.
paved.
Right.
And 5, yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
all
one
right.
access way that sort of tails off to 5, and then one that goes all the way back to 6.
So my question, Sarah, is, and I'm not sure the answer is at hand yet, is who owns that easement? Does you have to get approval from Jana in order to do this?
I think, I haven't taken a look at the easement. I think that now we're sort of talking about real property issues and not zoning issues, but we were confident that it can be resolved. I know that for the number 5, I don't believe that they actually have an easement. So it's,
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Well, she obviously has to,
main,
as it stands right now, she doesn't have to go over your property to get to Peck Lane, or does she?
she does,
Yes,
she does.
She has some rights.
Right.
To go right through the
We think-
parking lot.
But if it doesn't have a meets and bounds description to it,
Yeah, I guess someone's gotta look at that.
you know,
those
but that's not
easements.
our,
Not a problem right now.
that's not our thing, right?
Shouldn't have said anything. Oops.
Well, no, I mean, it was,
No, that was me.
okay.
Yeah, if it's not defined and they offer an alternative that's access through the property and it's,
So-
runs with the land, what's,
Would you be able to offer her? It would have to go, it has to, anything, her access has to be around the project, around the building.
Doesn't have to, I mean,
I mean,
this
it's
is
not gonna
two
go-
ways,
it's
so
not
she
gonna go
doesn't have
through
to
the-
go all the way around, she can just go straight here. I mean, this is two-way.
Oh, okay, so
She doesn't
she
have to
wouldn't
go
have to go,
around or
okay,
anything.
all right, so
No,
she wouldn't have to go through the
it's-
parking lot.
Yeah, that's why we're saying
All
it's,
right.
it's more consistent with what she currently has. It's just,
Do you,
Mr. Chair?
yeah,
As we continue to refine the plan, we will sit down with, I'm sorry.
Yana.
Yana, and resolve any concerns of easements, any concerns of screening. But currently, we just don't feel as though the easement is a zoning issue. It seems to be more of a legal property issue. But
Okay.
we, obviously, we want to be good neighbors, and I think Ahmed has certainly conveyed that.
Yanni,
If I may add one
Yeah,
more
yes.
thing, if you allow me. Thank you so much again. For number 5, we also reached out to her. She has no on paper legal easement through, Yana has legal easement, that's on the record. And we're gonna respect that for sure. Number 5, she's not using, it's interesting. The house is on Bick Lane, but for some reason they are not using Bick Lane for in and out at all. All in and out from the backyard. It has to go through our property. So we talked to her, we're gonna respect that, since we are used to.
how does
you
she
know,
access her
Through our land now.
Through the same driveway as
The
Yana.
same driveway that continue to Yana's house. So she just enter and then they make a right to her backyard. So we assured her also, even with the fact that she has no legal, or official easement rights, we're gonna respect that. The only difference again, it will be paved, landscaped, and buffered as needed, and she accepted that.
Okay.
Thank
Well, I guess we don't have to worry about any of this right now.
Right now.
Well, the one regulation that they're changing is for that S-shaped road connecting the house, right? Because from the line for 7 up to the road, there'll be no buffer there. But if that S instead went straight up, you could buffer her from seeing the entire parking lot, right? Because the change they're asking is that you don't need a buffer there where the road is.
We can,
That little lot.
look at that and refine
You
it.
have
There
to
is
go
a,
to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
We will look at that and refine it. There is a little bit of topography there that we have to contend with, but we'll work with Anna to resolve any issues.
Thank you.
You're all set for,
that's all I have on
okay.
this.
All right, is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak to this application? Either in favor, against, whatever? Okay. All right. We have no emails or letters, no
No
correspondence?
correspondence to be read into the record at this time,
What about Scott?
other than we have the referrals.
We
that
have the
get back,
referral for
right.
Scrog, yeah.
I think Scrog was the only one,
You saw it, right?
yeah, it should be in the packets.
Well, you know, at a minimum, I would like the town attorney to review the proposal to make sure that he agrees that it's all consistent with the House bill.
Well, and we
We've
have
been
that
talking
issue, that open issue that we have to figure out how we're gonna proceed on the 10% versus whatever
Yeah.
is coming down the pike.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that we have input from outside the commission
Right.
on that. That's our call, I guess, right? I mean, that, there's just a few issues here. I mean,
Well, this zone was written in 2000. And I reached out to a former board member, Judy Smith, to, ask her because there's clearly some history as to why and when this was written. But it seems pretty clear to me that even absent this proposed amendment, that there are a lot of, just odd, unworkable things in here that need to be addressed, that may or may not be part of this project, but if we're going in, we should go in. And I also wondering if, it's, part of a larger, review
What we talked
of the
about before.
regulations, yeah.
A larger review.
A larger review of the impacts of the current legislation
Well,
and,
that,
what's gonna happen over time with,
yeah, I mean, we can look at it now for its compliance with the law as it presently. We don't have a crystal ball, though, to go, tell us where we're gonna be in 5 years. I mean, what, are you saying that, in other words, if we agreed to the 10%, I think your point was, we don't know what's gonna be asked of us, and we're maybe giving away an opportunity to have, to be farther along.
or at least not further behind.
Yeah, but, how, yeah, I guess that comes down to, are you prepared to deny the application because you don't know the answer to that question or not?
I think that it's pretty clear that multifamily development is going to occur along the Boston Post Road corridor, specifically more, the
Well,
this
specifically
sort of
where,
parcels.
specifically where it's referenced,
Yeah,
on Peck Lane or Lambert Road.
right, because that can get access to sewer
Yeah.
and support the density.
I mean, the project is proposed for a place where we want a project like this to be.
Well, we did in 2000, and now we have more of a demand, so to
No
speak.
question.
Or obligation. So we want to make sure that as those parcels happen, that they take care of that obligation. Because otherwise we wind up with it in places where it's, doesn't work.
All
or
right.
fit.
Beside the density issue, what else do you see as a major potential problem here
In this particular area or with this zone change?
with this zone change?
Well, with the zone change, it's.
Keeping in mind that this is the regulation
That has existed.
that
okay?
exists.
And we all know that it hasn't been utilized a lot on vacant parcels because of the 30% requirement. Because then just economically, none of this pencils out for people to invest in.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's the case, right?
But it would have been done already. So that has to be one of the impediments. But I really, I started getting into this, but I think as a step, I would personally like the hearing to be continued and
yeah.
get input from, Owen on.
Yeah, definitely.
What we know.
Right.
We certainly don't know
Yeah,
everything we need to.
We have advice from the applicant
Yeah,
as to compliance with that House bill,
right,
but I'd like our own town attorney to
yeah.
give us the same advice. So for that reason alone, I think we should, hold the hearing open. And
If you would like me just to read the referral in.
Sure.
Because the referral does comment on some of this new legislation.
go ahead.
This was a referral from SCROG regarding our referral to them for the current public hearing. Dear Mr. Emergent, thank you for sharing the proposed zoning text amendment. The Regional Planning Commission reviewed the referral at its meeting on Thursday, February 12th, 2026. By resolution, the RPC has determined that the proposing zoning text amendment does not appear to cause any negative intermunicipal impacts to the towns in the South Central region, nor is there a negative impact on the habitat or ecosystem of Long Island Sound. However, language around off-street parking minimums should be removed to align with state legislation, or language should be added that these minimums should only be enforced if a PRD will add 17 or more units of housing.
Didn't the applicant already address that, though? I
They
mean,
did in there, they addressed a lot of the parking
in their application.
nonconformities right now in their language.
I mean, the section you propose regarding regarding parking, the changes to that section. I take it were made so that it complies.
Sarah Sharp, the change that I proposed was to comply with the change to 8-2 that I think was adopted in 2025. I'm not sure if is a reference to a newer prohibition that says you can't have any parking minimums for multifamily.
I think the middle housing that you're
Okay.
referring to eliminated parking requirements if it's under, and I didn't know it was 17.
17.
Okay.
But since
Okay, so it
this
doesn't
zone
apply.
incorporates more than
Yeah.
the parcel that you have under consideration, I think they're suggesting compliance language, which is what information we'd be getting from Owen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Jack, you know what else will affect on the, in that area? What are the parcels? If the changes that they're talking about?
They're not proposing any changes to the sites that are eligible for a PRD. You know, they're not changing the acreage or the area that, encompasses this kind of overlay. So that it shouldn't be any different than what it is now.
And it's not.
I thought that setback change, I think Sarah mentioned there were some properties that it would affect.
The change that removes the 300-foot separation distance between PRD units allows our parcel to be developed and potentially the
It was the Foyer Farm parcel.
251 Old Lambert Road.
Okay.
Because it's across from,
That is across from Silverbrook.
yeah, and there was some, at least from the information I have, Silverbrook may have been a PRD, but it also is way more than 50 units, so I
good
don't
question.
know if it really was.
But the only other parcel is the Foyer Farm parcel that's sort of in the middle there.
Yeah. The rest of the parcels that would be eligible are eligible regardless of this change.
Well, so there may be no parcel available, no additional other parcel available on Peck Lane, but that doesn't mean there couldn't be one in the future,
In the
right?
future.
Not,
Yeah.
not on, maybe not on Peck, but.
Well, it's got to be on Peck too, or Old Lambert Road,
Well, Old Lambert Road is such
Or
a
in the
small
commercial
section.
or in the commercial 1, commercial 2 district. But what I'm saying, it could be an assemblage of properties on Peck Lane.
Our current configurations do not
Yeah.
allow
Right.
for it.
Right,
And-
the threshold question becomes if somebody has some commercial property that they haven't currently considered for this because of the 30% set-aside development, does changing it to 10% now make it much more attractive to take some of that, miscellaneous commercial space in the C1 and C2 offline and build mixed use?
And if that is a concern, I mean, that's part of what we wanted to hear from you, because we could also have the 10% affordable limited to developments that fall under that residential district that are on Old Lambert or Peck Lane. That's a much more limited area, and it doesn't open up Boston Post Road.
Can we do that?
I think we have a lot.
We can make it more restricted within the context of this hearing.
I think we have a lot
talk about.
to talk about.
I thought that if you had 2 properties in the same zoning district, that you couldn't have,
These would be separate zoning districts. It would be 30% affordable required in the commercial districts, and then in the residential district, it can be 10%.
okay,
Right. So,
all right.
I also do want to stress, though, the properties that would be eligible along Post Road, and I can bring, an exhibit for the next hearing, since we are going to keep it open, that because of the other restrictions within the PRD, like it can't be within a certain distance to a shopping complex of 75,000 square feet. It can't be within 100 feet of a non-residential building or non-residential parking lot. If you start trying to put together an assemblage in between these existing commercial spaces, I mean, you'd have to have the entire entire strip of road all go to multifamily to really make it work, which doesn't seem at all reasonably likely. So I just want to there are a lot of restrictions within this regulation that limit what parcels qualify, even beyond just the minimum and maximum acreage.
Yeah, I mean, most notably the location, right?
Let's get to the next step and
Well, Jack,
Yeah, we-
get our input.
Will you also have some conversation with the adjoining owner
Yes.
to see if that can be worked out?
Yes.
I mean, if that can't be worked out, then there's no sense in us
Well, we're not
amending
gonna,
our regulations, is there?
well, the only
I
part
mean,
that
at
they
least
would be
in-
talking about now, at this stage, would be the buffers, I guess.
And access.
Again, I think that that's a real property
Yeah,
issue
it's
for us
later
to
on, yeah.
resolve. It's not a zoning issue.
Well, in other words, we have to approve an amendment to our regulations for a project
That may never happen.
may never happen.
Yeah.
Well, this,
About par for the
this,
course.
this zone hasn't been updated since 2000, so us looking at it
No.
is not a waste of our time
No,
regardless.
and Owen, and I think Owen's input is gonna be, valuable to do that,
Yeah.
especially in light of the new law.
Are there other issues? I mean, I was just looking at your narrative. I mean, you mentioned the buffers. I don't see any real problem with that. I mean, substantive issue with the buffer requirements or the parking requirements, right? It's the minimum affordable housing.
Right.
It's probably the main issue. Any other issues that we want the applicant to be paying attention to over the next couple of weeks? Okay.
How
Yeah.
about so the 2-bedroom versus 1-bedroom,
Yeah.
increasing the amount of 1-bedroom?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That, I don't
Yeah,
know if the
I gotta-
usage is the same for both of those types of units.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable request. Seems reasonable to me. I don't know if anybody.
The general selling point when people are talking about efficiencies in 1-bedrooms is zero impact
On
to
the
the
school
school
system.
system.
Well, plus it also goes to a limited,
Other municipal services.
Yeah,
one, and two, an elderly population would look to downsize.
right,
1 bedroom would not be out of the question.
right, or young people
On the
who
other
are
side,
trying
yeah.
to stick around.
Right. Okay.
Those pesky young folk.
Do you see any
You mean
value
anybody under
in
40?
passing this proposal along to the fire department and the police department?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, right?
Can we do that?
Or is that later on?
I mean, I know it's later
yeah.
on, but I mean, could it be now as well?
Jamie's got
I
nothing
mean,
to
yeah,
do.
they could weigh in on the text. Keep in mind, we're not at the site plan stage.
Right.
Right.
They're not commenting on design or anything like that, because that's all subject to change anyways,
Right.
But if we want to reach out to
Yeah.
police and fire and say, hey, if you have any comments, send me what they would be, and we'll have it for the next meeting.
I don't know how they're gonna do that without a site plan.
No.
I think
Yeah.
that the comments would have to be
Yeah.
on the text itself, which
Right.
we're not really
Which-
making any
so-
changes
which I
that
don't really think
relate
they're
to
gonna have
them.
much
We
in there
already
now.
have it this point.
Yeah, so I think at this, I mean, again, unless you guys want me to, I'm happy to do it.
I
But
mean,
at this
when we-
stage, I don't really think, the text is for the board to look at,
Right.
you know?
I mean, when we get to site plans, there'll definitely be sightline questions on PEC.
Yeah.
Because it kind of narrow and overgrown down that way.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Sarah? or-
Nope, I think that covers it. If you don't have any other comments, I appreciate your time.
Do they have to agree to leaving it open? No, we
Not
still.
yet.
Yeah, no, we're not
We're gonna
butting
leave
up
the-
against any,
No, not yet.
Yeah.
at the next meeting, if we decide to keep it open, we will request an extension,
Got it.
yes.
Now, let's get this over to Owen then, and
Yeah,
let him
absolutely.
comment. And let's have him highlight his comments.
For sure.
Whatever he adds or deletes, let's get it on a piece of paper so that we can pass it along.
And keep in mind, Owen is gonna be at our next meeting anyways,
Right.
so
Okay.
you should be in the room for continued discussion.
Good.
All right, so that's what we'll do.
Thank Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so nothing further on the agenda for this evening.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Anybody willing to second that? It's been seconded by Tom. All those in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. Thank you.